Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Kira and this is my boyfriend.
Hey, I'm Connor.
Today we're going to be making bucket hats. I've challenged Connor to make a bucket hat and we're going to see who can make a better one. How do you think you're going to go?
Not good.
Well, anyways, we'll see how it goes, so stay tuned. To make a bucket hat, you're going to need 2 circles that are 8 inches wide, 4 rectangles that measure 12 by 3 inches, and 6 open semicircles that measure 3.5 by 12 by 18 inches long, 2 of which are going to be interfacing or thicker material. I designed this pattern by measuring my bucket hat and making a prototype off of the measurements on there. I then added in seam allowance to this pattern that I created, and in the next scene you'll see me as I drafted this pattern from the prototype that I made. So we will begin by making one bucket hat, and as it is reversible, it's like making one bucket hat and then another bucket hat and then adding them together. So we're going to first cut out our pieces for our first bucket hat. So 2 rectangles, 2 open semicircles and 1 circle. And then for the next piece you will need to cut out 2 open semicircles in your material, 2 open semicircles in interfacing, 2 rectangles, and then 1 circle. As you can see, I'm cutting out 4 of the semicircles and interfacing. This is because me and Connor are making a bucket hat each, just to clarify. Now there are 2 ways that you can trace your pattern out. You can do it like Connor's with the pinning, or you can do it like me and trace it out and then cut it out. This ensures that you don't over pin, and sometimes when you're pinning you can gather up your fabric a bit, which is bad, if that makes sense.
So Shakira told me to pin one side.
I told you to pin them both. You said pin one side.
Yeah, because I would have just taken the other one out. And then I snipped that. And then I sewed that. And then I snipped that. And then Shakira said stick them 4 ones together.
Them 4 ones.
Mm-hmm.
It's called the open semicircle.
And then you gotta sew them together.
Did you use pins for that?
I think I did,
Why?
because Shakira said.
No, because it holds the fabric in place.
Yeah, that. And then I put more pins in.
To create the top of the hat.
Yeah.
Watch this. He totally tries the hat on. It's adorable. helped him add a little bit because he wasn't sewing it carefully and smoothly like I emphasize in how to sew this bucket hat.
And here you go to sew the other side.
We are attaching the brim to the hat.
And then now you sew it in a circle.
And you just seen that the thread came off. Connor, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I don't know why that happened.
Was it annoying?
Yeah. And then you can turn it inside out.
After you sew it properly.
Yeah, Shakira helped.
Taking our rectangles, we're going to face them pretty side to pretty side, and then we're going to pin the edges. Once we have pinned the edges, we can take this over to our sewing machine where we can sew a straight line, ensuring that we lock in the top and the bottom of our stitch. Now we are going to take our open semicircles and also lay them pretty side to pretty side, pinning where the smallest edges right down the middle of our semicircles. And then once we have pinned that, we're going to head over to our sewing machine and ensure that we lock that into place with a straight stitch, remembering to do a backward stitch at the top and bottom of our stitch. Now, if you are adding your interfacing to this and you're using sew and interfacing like I am, you will either need to do what Connor did and just sew it together into the middle of your semicircle, or you'll do what I do, and I'm going to show you how to sew in the interfacing so it stays into place on your fabric semicircle. So you just pin all the way around your semicircle and then just head over to the sewing machine and sew that in, and it just locks it into place a bit better and allows the interfacing to lie a bit flatter. And the interfacing is also to stabilize the brim of our bucket hat, if you didn't know that. And then if you're going to sew your interfacing like I did, then you just continue as normal, ensuring that you sew a straight line at your edges of your semicircle. Now back to our bucket hat. We're going to take our rectangle pieces that we sewed together and our full circle, and we're going to pin these together all the way around the top, ensuring that all of the pretty pattern that we want on the outside of our bucket hat is facing inwards. And then once we have pinned that all into place, this will help us navigating on the sewing machine a bit. When you're sewing this, ensure that you take your time. Please take your time. There should be no bumps or gathered bits of fabric as you're sewing. It should be all straight, and you need to make sure that you maneuver your fabric around this circle smoothly and slowly. Those are my key words. We are going to take our open semicircles and we're going to pin that to our rectangle sides. Going along smoothly, you need to smooth this out as you're pinning it, ensuring that it fits around the circles. Also make sure that all the pretty stuff is facing outwards this time, not inwards. It makes it a bit easier to pin it around. And if you would like to, you can do what I did and line up your seams first before continuing pinning around the circle. Now, if this is your interfacing piece, you'll need to cut little 0.5 of an inch, not even, smaller. You'll need to cut little slices into your fabric all the way around that open circle before you pin it down. This will allow it to work its way around the fabric, as now with the interfacing it is a lot thicker and a lot harder to stretch out. Now once you have pinned that into place, you need to work this around your sewing machine nicely and smoothly, ensuring that you sew it slowly. Sew it slowly. I will repeat it again. Sew it slowly, please. Do not bunch and gather up your fabric. There should be no bunches. There should be no gathers in this. You need to go slowly around the edge, and also ensure that you lock in the start of your stitch and the end of your stitch. Keywords being here: slowly and smoothly sew your fabric. Now, when you have two bucket hats complete, one with interfacing, one without, we're going to flip them both inside out and pin them all along the brim. While pinning the brim, we need to leave a place about 3 inches. If you can do less and be able to flip it out, that's good, but 3 inches is good. I've marked that with pins facing horizontal instead of vertical. Now, sewing from one of those horizontal pins, you sew all the way around the brim to the other pin and lock that from both pins into place. But ensure that you leave that gap space in between those pins that we marked out. This allows us to flip it outwards and in the right way. Now you can pin that little slip into place by folding in the fabric, and then we're just going to sew all around the edge, right close to the edge. It's about a centimeter, maybe less. We're going to sew all around the brim, and then from that line we're going to continue doing more. 1 centimeter, 1.5 centimeters apart from there. So I'm not exactly sure on the measurements for where you should sew along the bucket hat, but I lined my presser foot up right to the edge of my bucket hat where the slit was. This ensured that I 100% knew that it was going to lock that into place. You should try this too if it doesn't work out for you, doing the 1 centimeter or 1.5 centimeter intervals. But then once you have sewed this, you will need to do the intervals all along the brim in a straight line. Well, it's not really straight, it's curved because it's a circle, but it is a straight line stitch. And then once you have finished sewing those intervals from 1 centimeter to 2 centimeters around the brim of your hat, your bucket hat is now complete and reversible. Whose hat was better? Let me know in the comments. Also be sure to like this video and subscribe if you want to see more stuff like this. Thank you, and until next time.